to start off, I am James Morgan. This is the Morgan's Mill podcast, where we sit down, I sit down with a guest, somebody that I know or want to know. Yeah, please stand. But yeah. Perfect. Okay.
Hi, welcome to our podcast.
Yeah, he can sit down. But now, I thought, about who would be a good candidates, and I always intended to get you in here. And it just so happened that when Alex asked me, who are we going to do for the interview today, I completely forgot to set one up, and so I hit you up, and I figured you'd be the most down. And I'm actually really glad that happened.
From the reserves, baby.
Yeah, but I'm glad it happened because a lot of people don't know that you are still involved and have previously been heavily involved in Morgan's Mill.
It's true, yeah. People either know I was so involved that they still think that way and ask me, that's one of the first things that comes up, or they have no idea who I am, which is always kind of fun to walk in and walk around and man, so many people that I just have
no idea.
They have no idea.
Yeah. And then there's the people that do know, but they don't really make a point because they know.
Right.
So you come in as Brian, we got a newbie on bar. Obviously Brian knows.
That is the interesting thing when I am interacting with employees that I didn't really work with.
Yeah.
But I have one of my favorite things about coming to the mill is I always get the same reception from the staff as if I was still working here, and everyone's always super excited.
Yeah.
And I have noticed people, even fairly recently, newer employees that I've never met, know who I am, or at least know my name, which is pretty cool. It's a very neat thing to come into.
Yeah.
And Hunter, oh, okay, nice to put a face with the name. It's a very cool feeling.
Well, I mean, it's really your relationship to the mill is not just through work; it's through everyone that was involved. I mean, so when we started out, when the mill was just an idea, I was in school in Arkansas with you. We played rugby together, and then I was looking for somebody who essentially was smarter than me. That's really what it came down to. Is I needed somebody that was actually intelligent enough to accomplish some of the things that I wanted to accomplish. And you were very different from me, which is what made our friendship so strong, but also made for such a great partner to assist me in opening this place, because you saw things in a different light. And even when you were removed from the day-to-day stuff and were pursuing your own career, you were still somebody that I called frequently to ask for perspective on, okay, how do I deal with this situation? Am I being over dramatic? Am I allowing my emotions to interfere with my decision making? Which it was great, because you're somebody who's really good at being pragmatic. I think that's if I were to summarize the differences between us, because I'm not pragmatic at all.
Right. Yeah, definitely. We've always had very different intelligences and points of view.
One higher, one lower.
If you say so. But I mean, I think back, and even our own relationship was not, it wasn't an overnight thing. It was a slow start.
Yeah. Well, very slow. We did not like each other at first.
Yeah, that's probably fair to say.
Yeah, I think I
weren't sure about each other, maybe.
More weren't sure, but I think I definitely gave you a reason to not like me.
Yeah, I think you lumped me in with the whole team. The context here is when when we went to college together, and we both started playing rugby our freshman year. But I came out at the very beginning of the semester. James came out a bit later, maybe even the second semester.
I think it was.
And we did have one night of a sort of pseudo practice.
It was a conditioning practice.
Yeah, it was one of those hour long. It was some scrimmage, some conditioning, and it was, to be fair, definitely an off night. and James did not appreciate that it was an off night and let us know. And I didn't appreciate that because, this guy hadn't even played a game with us or anything yet. Who's this guy? And then 20 minutes,
I was threatening to quit.
Was it the same night or the next week when your phone got stolen?
Next week.
And you're like, hey, can I borrow your phone? This guy. Yeah, sure, whatever.
Well,
I call people. I was like, yeah, fine, I don't care.
Okay, I remember this vividly. We were on the practice field, that first one.
Yeah.
There was a conditioning there.
It was on the game field.
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the football field.
And we had quite a few people who were not really motivated.
We always did, yeah.
Yeah. And so that pissed me off because I came from playing football in high school with teammates that also were not motivated. So I didn't want to go through that again. And so then I came on the field and I was like, well, I'm gonna tell these guys how it is. I'm just gonna show them, And then I very quickly learned that I overstepped.
Well, it's the pain of an underfunded, unofficial college sport that is still, intercollegiate, recognized and competing on an intercollegiate level.
Yeah.
It's a legitimate team and organization, but as an organization, over the participants, you only have so much sort of.
Oh, there was no control.
Control.
No
and at a certain point, it's like, dude, we need numbers. We have to have 20 people. Right now, we have 22. So calm down a little.
Yeah, that's very true.
We cannot lose people.
And 6 of those people were morbidly obese.
But you have those. Yeah, you have those people that you just can't I guess I'm glad you're here because we need numbers. But please just jog a little.
Yeah.
Jog a little.
Well, I was hoping for, this experience of guys who were just
you were gonna, this was your Remember the Titans moment.
Yeah, exactly.
You were gonna bring it, I'm gonna move these idiots, these 20-year-old
Well, and keep in mind, this is also in the middle of winter in Arkansas.
Yeah, it's January.
Yeah, dude, that was 13 degrees outside.
No.
Well, it felt like 13 to me.
Fair enough. Yeah, for you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I get that now too. I go back home and I put a beanie on. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I know.
Why am I cold?
I got used to it eventually.
40 degrees.
Yeah, exactly. But you get used to it, but then you never really get used to it. I think it's just you get used to being in pain. It's painfully cold there.
I guess.
Yeah.
I think anyone in a place with actually cold winters would disagree with that, but
that's fair.
But I believe it's painful for you. Bringing it back though, full circle, I think that our relationship had a bit of a slow start. There was definitely a slow build. It was really other mutual friends that we both had that really was kind of the impetus for us hanging out, and then of course continue to play rugby together, eventually playing music together, playing shows together. It was a very slow thing in the kind of, I think, just integral differences we had that made it slow, but also ultimately were a huge factor into why our relationship has been so meaningful. I think that really, there's an essence of that in the mill, where I can come back and, just our staff, from top to bottom has always been just, sure very different, but always very engaged and very active and very
I would say
present.
they're very, very genuine.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And even some of them are a little bit more reserved and kind of not the outgoing people, but they if you actually engaged with them, they're very sincere people, and that's what I always looked for. And I think that it kind of is the whole premise of this podcast is really, we go throughout our day and we don't stop until we get to the end to really connect. Oftentimes, we're either busy with work, we're getting a quick lunch, we have a lunch meeting, or you have a phone meeting and you got to go through the drive-through. And I think that the value that the Mill, Morgan's Mill, and other coffee shops in particular present is an opportunity to connect, because you and I eventually became friends, but what really made us connect were those moments of sitting and talking, late nights where we had a drink, or we had like
McDonald's.
yeah,
Let's go get McDonald's at
yeah.
11 p.m. because there's literally nothing else to do in this.
Yeah, and by a drink, I mean like we would go to Sonic and
Yeah,
get a drink. 'Cause
right,
we
right.
went to school in a dry county, so that was
Yeah,
fun.
let's go get cherry limeades, baby.
Yeah, but those moments are really invaluable, and I think what I'm always trying to achieve here is how do I show people the value of just taking an extra 10, 20 minutes to connect? And I think that us stopping our day to talk and also recount memories is a great example of like how that can be beneficial, how it can be enjoyable, and also like it's just nice because you and I haven't talked in a bit. We really, because you live in Sac now, but we used to live together. We lived here at the mill.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
20 feet away.
Yeah, 20 feet away. And then I moved back in with my mom because I was killing it, obviously. And then you moved to Sac. And can you just kind of recant your story?
Yeah. So I moved out in the summer of 2016 after graduating, I guess in June. You had already started laying some of the groundwork, but I moved out that summer, and we pretty much hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Going full steam ahead, opening the Morgan's Mill, and I guess in total it took us right at a year to fully get it off the ground. And
Yeah.
at a certain point in that time, I realized that I needed to make money. So I took an internship with a software company in downtown Sacramento called DialSource. I started as a marketing intern, writing blogs.
Which is funny because you got your degree in history.
What's funny is I technically didn't even get my degree in history.
Yeah.
So yeah, I ended up general studies with focuses on humanities and social sciences with minors in history, writing, and broadcast journalism.
And so then you found yourself working at
So,
a tech company.
At a tech company, but but writing. I mean, I came on
Yeah.
pretty much purely writing blogs. I was writing blogs about sales and sales software, and hated it. I felt like one day I was just gonna like disappear, like I was just gonna stop existing. Like somebody was gonna come back to my office, and like I haven't seen Hunter in a couple of days, and I just like wouldn't be there.
In the sunken place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My my first setup I was at a small, like a miniature conference room table,
Right.
a conference room table that made for 4 people. I shared that table with 2 other people, and my seat was a camping chair.
That's pretty awesome.
So I felt like one day somebody was going to come back and like my computer screen would be on with like a half-written blog, and my chair would just be empty. But I just started.
Good mystery novel.
Yeah, something like that. I just started looking for anything I could do to help the company that wasn't writing blogs.
Yeah.
So I was all over the place. I was designing simple little graphics and feature sheets and one-pagers for the sales team. I was writing content still for advertisements and conferences and stuff like that. But I was also ordering snacks, just kind of generally tidying up the office. I was ordering, any equipment or office supplies that people needed, and then eventually I was, running Ethernet cable, terminating and running Ethernet cable. I mean, I pretty much redid our entire Ethernet infrastructure at one point. So I was doing that for a while, and then I did that for about probably 4 months, 3 or 4 months, and as we were getting ready, or as we thought we were getting ready to open full time,
Yeah.
my boss there told me he wanted me to go full time. We worked out an offer, so I started full time.
It was a pretty sweet offer.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I felt
Yeah.
pretty good about it. Yeah, there was some countering for sure.
400,000.
Yeah, they said you're gonna be a millionaire, baby.
Yeah.
I
Not
said yes. I said yes, please. So I went full time there in I think February or probably February, March of 2017. I stayed on doing both for about 6 months. So we
Right.
got through the opening, the soft opening, got off the ground, and then I did, weekend shifts and random things to help out. I had a regular Sunday morning shift.
Yeah, and you also had a full-time job.
Yeah.
And I think that I want to go back to, you talked about doing a lot of random stuff. So you started as an intern and got a full-time position and worked your way up by creating value. And I think a lot of people go to work and they're doing their job and they're doing their job well, but then they go home or they take their lunch or they take their breaks and stuff. And I think that that is such a key thing to hone in on, for people who really want to go up, they feel like they're not getting the recognition that maybe they deserve, is you've got to create more value than what you were hired to do. Yeah, and then the doors open.
Yeah.
If you keep doing that, and that's such a hard thing for people to learn in school. You're never really taught that. And so I always found it really impressive that instead of just doing what you were told to do, you found ways to create more value. And it paid off relatively quickly.
Yeah, and I will say, a lot of it is definitely the working environment that you're in.
Yeah.
A lot of places it's hard to see or find the ways to add value. In some places it's just hard to do that at all. I was in a place where it was very easy. It was as simple as taking an hour or two to completely empty out, clean up, and reorganize a closet made a big difference, because now when their monitor went out, they didn't have to look through a whole closet to find a power cable. It was in one box that they could open and grab.
Yeah, that's the little things. I think that people often overlook as, when they're looking to I gotta win this big client, get this big sale.
Sure.
But if you find those little things like tidying up the workspace, making it a more functional space, that brings, I think, a lot more value. Because if your job is to get the big client, great job. But what are you going to do to make it more feasible, bringing that person on, to having a more organized workspace, to be able to function better as an organization?
Well, at the company level too, it comes down to also what is your job, and can you focus on your job? So a lot of my focus when I was trying to avoid blog writing, and especially when I went full time, because I went full time still in this kind of arbitrary limbo, or not limbo, but this undefined. I was office manager or office administrator or whatever / internal communications coordinator, and it was just clearly you'll be able to find enough things to do for 40 hours a week. And my mentality basically was, at least when I was an intern, it's my time is literally quantifiably among the people at this company, my time is the least valuable in terms of money. So what can I do to make other people's time more valuable? That was it. Something that might take the CEO or an executive or even just a dedicated salesperson 5 hours, it might take me 10 hours, but that's 5 hours they get back to focus on their job. And that was what I saw a lot of, especially among the executives at that time, especially the CEO and the COO, two very hardworking people, and just both doing as much as they could all the time.
Yeah.
And someone's just saying, hey, this will take me longer, but let me do this, or let me help you with this, and you can get a couple hours back running the company. And that's I think a lot of it is just trying to look at something on a holistic level, and I think that's what I've always done a good job at seeing the whole picture and also remembering the details that make it work. Because like you say, it's the small things. The the most grand thing that's valuable is still made up by all the details and all the nuances and all the little things, and it can be very hard, especially as something grows bigger and bigger, for people to see both of those. And I think that's where I've excelled, is kind of retaining a vision and an understanding of both of those. And that was from when I was an intern to really when I left. That was my kind of goal, is where do these two meet? Where does the vision of this company meet up with the little daily things that people are doing, the things that this person is doing in their job, the way this guy is going about his day, and the confines of our office and our processes and stuff.
Well, that's what I think the value that was the same kind of value that you provided for me was, I had this thing I wanted to do that was something I'd never done, didn't know how to do, but I knew what I wanted it to look and feel like. And so you were able to help me find the steps along the way while maintaining the vision.
Yeah.
And I think part of this is because we were such great friends. You knew my vision. It was almost like I didn't really have to reiterate or communicate it constantly. It was like we talked about it a few times and we knew what we wanted, and I felt like my role was to keep driving the big picture, but what you really brought to the table was helping me find those steps and doing those steps and showing me which way to go. And so now you're not with Dial Source anymore, you're with another company.
Correct, yeah. So I went full time with Dial Source, I think February of 2017. I worked in that sort of kind of flux. I was doing anything that somebody didn't know how to do, didn't have time to do, or didn't have time to figure out how to do.
Right.
When to me that was my job. And then eventually one of the department heads talked me into learning Salesforce, which is a CRM.
Which I still don't
software.
understand. Like, you've explained it to me multiple times, and I've heard it from other people, but I don't know what the fuck it is.
It's weird because it's like not very many people have heard of Salesforce without actually understanding it to a degree, I guess.
Right.
It's one of those things. I mean, we
It's
went
almost
to
like
college.
basketball. You can't really explain it unless you've played it.
Maybe. I don't know. It's just funny because
It is funny.
depending on the world you're in, you
Yeah.
could easily go your whole life without ever hearing of Salesforce, and it would make zero difference on your life.
Right.
But you get in the right industry or the right scene or whatever, it's huge. It's everywhere. It's one of the biggest companies in the world, and that's what's it's like. It's one of the biggest companies in the world that you've likely have never heard of.
Don't they have they've done a really good job as a company of, these are very few things I know. They've done a really good job as a company of promoting a healthy work-life balance.
Yeah, they're very, very culture focused, very people focused.
Yeah, don't they have like meditation rooms and stuff like that? Or
yeah,
in their main
sure.
office?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, they've got all sorts of stuff like that. They've got
We
I
have
know
a break room, so that's almost the same thing.
and it's such a good company that, of course, they've got offices all over, but even in their own tower, their main tower in San Francisco, different floors operate differently depending on the team. But I know some of the sales floors don't have assigned. I think they call it aloha seating or something like that.
Oh.
But they don't have assigned seats. All the desks are unassigned.
That's-
So you come in and find a spot to work at.
That's really weird because that's I went to Montessori school growing up, and that was the same principles. They did not have assigned seats, and it actually worked really well.
Yeah.
For first through sixth graders, we had no assigned seats, and it was just the only time people were separated was if they were causing trouble, or
Right.
getting
Yeah, and it's
out
great.
or something.
Yeah, it's great for cross-functional teams because you can just pick up your laptop and go talk with your solutions guy or whatever about a product you're trying to sell for a client. But they have that thing. They have I think they have a mandated amount of paid time to spend volunteering. I think.
Huh.
They do all sorts of nonprofit volunteer work. Mark Benioff, the CEO, personally donates a lot of course, Salesforce donates a lot, but he donates a lot of his own personal money.
That's dope.
Their the top floor of their main office is this, basically this huge kind of scenic outlook room that you can go up to. You can just go up, ride the elevator. They have like a little cafe, but they have all these conference rooms in there, and nonprofits can book those conference rooms for free of charge. That's just one of those little.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so very Mark Videonato, very humanitarian person.
So that kind of like brings me to like what we talked about briefly before, because we were just kind of catching up before we started recording.
Right.
You mentioned something about how you've been like finding better ways to balance your work.
Yeah,
life.
should I continue bringing my story up to full speed? Or?
Yeah.
Because I don't work at Salesforce, by the way. But I started learning Salesforce as a platform, started working with it. So the company I was at, Source, was using Salesforce. It's basically a huge database. Imagine like Excel as a program, and you've got all your different workbooks and spreadsheets.
Yeah.
And now imagine all of those which I mean you can do, but like imagine they're all connected.
This is the most boring imagination.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
So it's, especially when it's in Excel.
Yeah, when you say Excel, I just
cells, rows, columns. But yeah, like you've got your workbook over here with all your different accounts, and then your workbook over here with all your different sheets or whatever, and something over here can trigger something over here, whatever. But it's a huge database, mostly meant primarily for all your sales and service interactions and information.
Right.
So I started managing that. The company was using one that had been built a long time ago. They wanted to move to another one. I ended up being the one responsible for building out the new one and moving the company over. So I did that, built out a new instance of Salesforce, migrated the company, and then from there ended up kind of slowly taking over more and more internal business systems that mostly sales and service people were using, and just kind of helping run our general technology. And I was doing that for about a year, a little less than a year probably, and then I got recruited by a company called New Relic, which is a platform observability company based in San Francisco. New Relic.
Okay.
Yep, they've been around since I think 2005, publicly traded company.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got recruited to work for them as a Salesforce administrator. So I've gone from managing about, at different times and to different degrees, 30 plus little softwares and systems.
Yeah.
To where now I'm at New Relic. I'm on a team that's dedicated to managing mostly Salesforce and a few other platforms as they interact with Salesforce.
Okay.
And I work remotely, still based in Sacramento.
Nice. Now that sounds like it would be pretty dope to work remotely.
It's great.
Like you could take conference calls with no pants on.
Mm-hmm. I
and
could.
You could do everything with no pants.
Yep.
That's the ideal. I mean, literally, for like no people underestimate no pants. We did storytellers last night, and when Lauren was like, "What do you want to do for dinner?" I was like, "All I want to do is eat a burrito with no pants on."
See, I like pants. I'm a pants guy.
I like pants
or
too,
shorts.
but
I like
the option.
I like the
That's
option for
nice.
sure.
Yeah.
I like wearing clothes in general. I think.
I mean, I get that. I do too, but like
I
something
get
about
both
just like
sides. There's definitely those days. I mean, not
just
when
let
I
it
work. I
air
do all my
out.
work with pants on. But there definitely have been, some Saturdays like just tour around.
It's like almost like it's like that if they knew you weren't wearing pants on, that wouldn't be okay.
I think it's like a.
That sounded creepy. I gotta be careful what I say.
I've never wondered if other people are wondering if I'm wearing pants. No, that has never crossed my mind. I think it's more of like.
That sounds like Louis C.K. shit, right?
I think I just know. Ooh, yeah. Ooh. Ooh. God.
Too soon? Yeah.
Hey, you guys wearing pants? Guess I'm not.
okay, the point you get to work from home.
I think it's like, for me, it's a bare, like, you know, I don't like thinking about the amount of things I would not get done if I did not at least put pants on.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, get up, go through my morning routine, put some pants on. Now I've got some level of responsibility that I have to adhere to. So I think that's really what it is for me. It's like a feeling of...
Well, like, where do you put your phone without pants? Like, you can't just...
That's true. That's it. Because we've all done that number where you try to, like...
hold it
in your boxer,
yeah,
the band. Sometimes it works, but not...
It's very rare.
It's never... And you're walking differently. You're doing everything kind of slowly because you're afraid it's going to fall
You have to
out.
have some surface tension. You got to have, like, your skin's got to be a little bit moist to, like, to the friction, you know? Because I don't have a case on my phone, which...
Oh, yeah, yours would just...
Yeah.
You got that glass back.
Yeah, but it's mostly shattered because I don't have a case.
You probably got some grip.
Yeah. Every now and then I'll be texting and then I feel like a shard of glass in my finger, and that's not pleasant at all.
You should get a screen protector. They're pretty cheap.
I mean, I should, but I'm not going to. You're not here all the time anymore, Hunter. Like, it's the little things, you know. Yeah. I'm learning how to do them all myself.
Yeah. This is it. But yeah, so I work from home now, and it is great. I love it. It is different. It's an adjustment.
Yeah. Because you never really get away from the workspace.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way?
I from day one moving into my new apartment was very intentional about trying to carve out a place that is for work.
Got it.
And I actually have rearranged a couple times because I want, you know, and it goes both ways. When I'm in my workspace, I want to be focused on my work and be present and engaged and be a good employee. But when I'm not working, I want to be out of work and out of that mode.
That takes a lot of discipline.
It does.
I don't have that level of discipline.
I didn't for the first 3 months, and it's been a couple of adjustments because, as we said, I've gone from, you know, of course I was in an office every day, and I was at a startup. When I started, there were about 20 people. I saw it go to about 50, but still, you know, a relatively small office. Definitely a culture of closeness and strong relationships. So it was a very socially involved office still now. You know, so many of my good friends in Sacramento I made just working together and being in the office together. So it was not just going into an office every day, but a very involved office that, you know, sometimes there would be Fridays where we'd stop working and then the next 4 hours we're just hanging out in the office, goofing off, you know.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of like, I feel like it seemed like it had a similar vibe to like our workspace here, except we don't really like get to stop the workflow, but there's a lot of times where we get to like hang out, or, you know, when like someone like you or some of our regulars come in that we develop relationships with, we get to like chat and like hang out. And I think that like when people talk about like working super long periods of time, like how much of that time is actually productive versus like socializing, and not to like make that, you know, distinction to belittle the socializing aspect. I think the socializing aspect of your workday is really important. Yeah. In almost any setting.
Well, and it's crazy how much it can make a difference, you know. You can hate the work you do at your job, but love the people you work with, and that can be enough.
Yeah.
You can also love the work you do and hate the people you work with, I imagine.
Yeah.
I've never really been in that situation, but I'm sure it's pretty tough to keep even doing the things you love. But so I went from that, definitely coming from here even, where, very much a family, and then, you know, a similar office experience to working from home. But then the other side is I was at a startup and I worked my way up. I was always looking to add value. I got very involved.
Right.
I went from, you know, an intern to essentially, I guess, lower management.
Right.
and scrappy, high, rapid growth technology startup. So it was a lot of work, a lot of time. I was constantly learning things all the time. And most of the time when something came to my desk, it was because nobody knew how to get it done. Just where we were at a company, where we're trying to go, we were always going into uncharted territory. So when
do you miss that? That kind of like unknown, like what you're gonna do today, or do you still have that in your job to a degree? Your current job.
There is an inherent level to it in what I'm doing now, and there is an amount of it I miss. So far, I don't miss how prevalent it was at my last place, because it was kind of every angle for me. It was first like career job. I'm at a software company which was new. I'm at a startup which is new. I am doing tech work.
And you were in a new state.
I'm a technical person, yeah, and I'm in a new, totally new state, across the country. So it definitely got exhausting, and it was just the amount we were trying to do, the amount that I had to do, or at least that I felt I had to do to keep up, because my priority was always, I don't want to hold the company back. I don't want to be the reason that we don't hit whatever mark or grow in the way we need to. So, I was working, I'd say, on an average week, I was putting in probably 60 hours of work at that one job, 60 plus, very often. Out of all the different, things I had to learn and things I had to figure out and things I had to build and test and break and rebuild.
Yeah.
And I don't miss that. But I go from that to now I'm working remote with a large company that has a lot of their structure and processes, they're not a startup.
Yeah.
More mature company that's had
they've gone through the oscillations.
More time and resources to figure out, kind of define a lot of their processes and their structure and build a bigger foundation for when those waves do come. It's not as tumultuous across the board. I think the tremors are smaller, at least less felt.
Right.
So, I'm working for a company and for a team that is very, very laid back, productive but laid back, and from home. So it's entirely, I go from being in a very close, involved office, working in and out of the office 60 to 70 hours in any given week, and now, I'm working at home in a role where I might not necessarily have 40 hours of work to do, depending on just what comes up in that week. So it's definitely been an adjustment.
Yeah, having more free time, like idle time sounds great when you're busy, but in actuality, like having a ton of free time kind of sucks.
It's a challenge,
dude. I mean, when we were opening here. Like the phrase you always used was "hurry up and wait." We got everything done, and then it's like, all right, now you just wait on health, wait on building, wait on the contractors, wait on, whatever is in your way.
We just spent 2 weeks, putting hours and hours into this thing, and it's done, and now we need one email to say it's good, and then we're gonna go do that again for 2 weeks, and then we're gonna wait for a month again.
I mean, because we live together. I just pretty much drank my way through that idle time and the busy time.
Yes.
But it kept me occupied for sure.
It did keep you occupied. Yeah. It kept both of us occupied sometimes.
It did. Yeah. You were very helpful on those random nights.
We all have our challenges. But yeah, it is, and especially in the. We're looking, I think, we look at ourselves and we're looking at our life and we want to feel productive and useful and valuable, but we don't necessarily know. We have an idea of what those things look like,
Right.
but we don't really know. So we kind of rely on those ideas like work. And for me, that's really kind of what it became. I mean, the 6 months overlap, I would do all over again, at the drop of a hat, because that was an incredible experience.
Yeah.
But, and that was the same, I was working 60 to 70 hours pretty often in a week, but it was 40 hours there and then anywhere but, 10 to 25 hours here, and it was totally different, and it was, so exciting. The opening and the response from the community and everything, and just seeing it come to life. I would do again at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, who would have thought waffles were going to be such a hit?
Right.
Yeah, because a lot of people identify us for waffles, but
that was not even on our sign.
That was literally you and me. I don't know if you had been drinking, but I certainly had been talking about a menu. What's something we could do to
be a little different.
Be a little different, satisfy if in fact the customer's hungry.
Right.
And then it was like...
Well, you know what it was, is to serve beer and wine, we had to have...
food.
A significant food menu.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do with waffles.
It is.
And underrated, I think, in terms of the amount of different things you can do with a waffle.
Yeah, we did a ton of weird things. We had the Pete's waffle, cinnamon roll waffle, Go waffle.
The Go waffle, which was your brainchild.
Yeah, I'm very proud of that one. I don't know what made me think of that. Maybe Pinterest. I don't recall a lot of those hours.
I remember you telling someone about it and them saying something like, "That sounds terrible. Those things do not go together."
And I was like, "Oh, watch me."
And then it's one of our most popular items, probably.
Yeah, it definitely was, and I think that we also saw some incredible creativity from our customers. Mm-hmm. Most disgusting of which was when this dude obviously he was, wake and bake that day. Sure. He was super high. It was like 10 in the morning, and he was like, "Can I get the pizza waffle? And then can you add whipped cream and strawberries?" Oof. And I was like, that has garlic butter and mozzarella and tomatoes on it, right? And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Do you still want all of that?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Okay.
So I made this waffle, and I don't get queasy easily, but I felt physically ill putting whipped cream on top of garlic butter. Just that smell, that combination of sweet and garlic.
Oof.
And then
no, thank you.
I gave it to him, and there was no remorse in his eyes. He ate it in
just
oh my God, he ate it so fast.
Can I get one more, please?
That was the most disgusting thing, was to see him finish his waffle first out of the three others.
Come to Morgan's Milk, create your own waffle. You can do anything.
We don't judge.
You want according to our topics.
We judge later.
We'll wait about 2 years until we're doing a podcast, and then we'll talk about it.
But I won't name you because I don't know his name. So.
But anyway, after that, and I went full time at Dial Source. I was there for a little bit, and then once I started to get involved in the technology side, I think a lot of it was I didn't know how to feel like I was, being valuable or productive or whatever as a person, as an individual. Mm. But I, had an idea from society and everything that work is that's a very easy, very clear way. I'm being productive, I'm working.
Yeah.
And so that became pretty much just what I did and essentially who I was. That's definitely part of, I think, why I was putting in so many hours, is because it was, for me, an easy way to feel like I was being productive and being valuable and contributing, or whatever.
Right.
And towards the end of my time there, I really, it hit me and really a lot of it was when when both of them died.
Yeah, that was.
That was, I had already had some kind of doubts about what I was doing and where I found myself and what my kind of priority was in life, and then that happened.
Yeah. Which, for people who may not know, Botham Jean was shot in his apartment by an off-duty police officer, and we played rugby with Botham. We were. I would consider him a good friend. He and I didn't hang out all the time. We played rugby for 2 years, all of us.
Well,
an
and
incredible
how he was.
person.
I consider him a good friend as well, and that's.
Well,
and I think we were, but he had that effect too.
Yeah.
Because you could not see him for months, and then he'd see you from 50 feet away walking by, and he would just yell.
Yeah.
And run over and not like, oh, good to see you, like talk to you, really take time out to have a conversation with you, and he made everyone feel just very valuable, very heard.
He literally knew, I think, everyone on campus at that time.
He was the one that nominated me for rugby president our sophomore year.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which was one of those things I never would have thought I would be up on that board.
Yeah.
Much less to eventually be selected as president, but yeah, that was him.
I think he had a good read of people, and that's what made him such an effective communicator and such a good friend to so many people. Was like he actually understood you. Yeah. And not a lot of people do. I think maybe they could, but they don't necessarily take the time that he would take.
Well, also to act the same way and treat you the same way regardless.
Yeah,
whoever you are, whatever he thought of you, it didn't matter. You were his, when he was talking to you, he was your best friend.
Also, a hell of a singing voice.
Yeah, great
singing. God. I did not enjoy going to chapel every day, but if Botham was leading worship, that was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Very
talented, very smart.
Everyone would be happy. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
He had that effect
on people.
So that tragedy.
When we lost Botham, that was definitely one of those kind of moments where it's like, what am I doing? I am working, I'm putting in 60, 70 hours in an industry I don't know, that I don't relate to at a, building a product that I'll never use just because I'll never be in that business. Nothing against any of that, but it's just, and not that I was there, but I was putting so much of myself into it.
Right.
And, for what? To feel valuable, to feel, that's it, to feel valuable, to feel accomplished. And so when the opportunity came to move to New Relic at a more relaxed position and work from home, of course I jumped on it. But then the other side of the challenge came, which was, okay, well, what am I doing to be productive? What am I doing that is valuable for me and for others? And I definitely spent a long time just not really doing anything. And no, I just spent a lot of time not doing anything. And I took the beginning of it was kind of, to some degree, an intentional kind of decompressing. Yeah. I was so exhausted I was just constantly exhausted, and I was exhausted from having my brain going all the time. I could leave. Nobody was making me stay at the office. Right. Late. Nobody was making me work 60 hours a week. And even the times I actually only worked 40 hours, that was where my brain went. That was the natural resting place that my brain went, was work.
It's interesting that you bring up the, not interesting, but I want to go back to the transition with Botham's passing having such a substantial impact. Because I think that not that tragedy is a necessity, but I think it's necessary to view tragedy as a reminder for everyone around, what are you going to do with the time you have now?
Right.
And for me, that happened. I had a really good friend of mine pass away when I was 22, and I remember Brian saying to me, now we're adults. And it wasn't so much that it took a tragedy to achieve that, but now we had to ask the question, what are we going to do? How are we going to spend our time? And I think, one, when you get to that question, it speaks to your emotional maturity, but it also speaks to the incredible impact and legacy that person left on everyone around them.
And Botham's legacy for me was, like, that's what I took from it. That's what I had to take from it. And that's what I saw. I mean, any time a life gets cut short, it's a tragedy, of course. But I mean, from day one, the number one, I don't know, top track, whatever you want to say, the number one thing that went around as soon as it happened was everyone talking about how incredible of a person he was and everything.
Yeah.
And like, that's all I could think. What am I doing? Like, I was honestly, I think, privileged to know this person.
Absolutely.
And now they're gone. Nobody else from this point forward is going to have the privilege of knowing him. And there's a saying, I don't know who it would be attributed to, but essentially, you're alive as long as the last person who remembers you. And that was a phrase that just kept kind of coming back to me when Botham passes. Like, how can I, obviously nobody can know Botham at this point, but how many people can I help know his legacy and the things he represented, and the thing about Botham that was always so incredible to me is like I don't think I've ever seen someone whose just actions and behavior were so in line with his principles and all the things that he claimed to value and the things he said he believed in and the things he wanted to be. Like, there was just almost no rift between those two things.
Yeah.
You
especially
saw
at his age,
in every interaction. Yeah, our freshman year at 18 and 19, you could just see, like, day in, day out, every interaction, like, his values were his attitude, were his behavior, and that was kind of how I tried to refocus and look at things. How can I help more people know that those things, those principles that he believed in, which were just, kindness and joyfulness and sincerity.
He was always positive.
Always positive. I never saw him having a bad day.
And I think the point that connects through everything we've kind of talked about is also he never seemed exhausted by socializing, by stopping whatever he was doing to communicate.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing when I look back on memories with him that I am like, God, how do I do that? Because I get very easily exhausted from socializing. But
me too.
Somehow, every interaction that you had with him...
Yeah, he did not have passing interactions.
No,
he wanted to talk.
Absolutely. And it was sincere.
Right.
It was genuine. It was look you in the eye and you you
Yeah,
were seen.
crowded table full of people. You just walked up, and at least for the first couple of minutes, he's just talking to you.
Yeah. And I think that's so, I feel like that was kind of the key to his joy, is that
He was present.
He was present, and he saw that value,
Yeah.
and what doing that brought to his life was joy and
And
fulfillment.
brought joy to a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you have been since refocusing on doing that, which I've actually noticed. I mean, just since you made that transition from Dial Source into your new job, and you had that time of a little bit of downtime, I noticed you coming around more, hitting me up more. And it was interesting because I was in a place where I was kind of secluding.
Sure.
But it meant so much to me just to like, oh, Hunter was at the mill today, and I'm like, shit, I missed him.
Yeah.
You know, or hey, what are you doing? And even if I wasn't available or I was being a recluse or whatever,
sure.
Like somebody stopping their day and thinking about you is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and I will say, like, it wasn't just work. I mean, that was a big part of it, but like where social media was in my life, like that was a big, which I think, not probably 90% of people in a at this point 15-year age range probably struggle with. Probably greater than that now. Probably, I mean, I didn't have a phone that you could put an app on until I was 16, but I know that's different now.
Those are sweet.
I mean,
seeing that development, and one of the biggest marks of maturity that I've noticed in people that I respect is the ability to be present, and to see that develop in you is pretty cool, and to experience it for myself. So,
to round it out, because we can talk about these things and we can talk about being present and being engaged, but like what does that mean? How do you do that? It's not always easy. Like I say, I've been at my new position, I guess, 5 months now, and of course in there was some traveling back home and the holidays and everything, but still the whole time, I'm thinking like, oh yeah, I got to be more present, more engaged, whatever, and in some ways I was, but still wasn't finding that, finding the value I was looking for, feeling like I was being meaningful. And for me, it was kind of refocusing on myself in a potentially counterintuitive way. Being more meaningful and present with what I'm doing in my day without anyone else around. That has been, for me, the biggest thing I think that's made the biggest difference, because you can, it's one thing to be present and engaged with people all the time, but then especially if you're someone like you or me, like, you're going to get exhausted. That's not sustainable at all. You can try to hang out with people every night, and some people thrive in that, but not everyone does. And for me, and this is, I guess, the advice I would give.
I mean, if you were to sum it up in advice, I think that's the best way to phrase it, really.
Yeah, the difference for me, and again, like I say, it wasn't even, everything I've mentioned were factors in it, but it was always, at every point, it was me, right? It wasn't my last job, my last position. It wasn't social media. It was how I was engaged with it. And I think I was, for a long time, engaged with it in ways that weren't about me, or in ways where I was kind of disregarding myself. Starting there, starting at my work, that's where everything started. And put a lot more energy lately into starting with myself and focusing on where I'm at, and pursuing things that even in a minimal way feel valuable to me. And that puts me in a totally different headspace.
Right.
The way I start my day totally dictates some ways how the rest of my day goes, how my interactions with people go, and taking time to focus on myself, to be present with myself, to be engaged in the things I'm doing that are for no one else, whether it's, you know, a project that I really want to work on that I think people will enjoy, or just fixing my dinner.
Right.
You know, being there and in it and really engaged with it has totally opened up how I'm interacting with other people and being engaged with them and spending time with them meaningfully.
Right. No, I love it, and I'm glad that we got to sit down and actually have that meaningful time here.
Yeah.
So,
great.
real quick before we wrap up, what do you got there? What are you drinking?
I am drinking a Boochcraft hard kombucha. There's 3 different things.
Ginger, lime, rose hips?
Yep, that's it.
Rose hips.
Rose
And
hips.
This is a
They
beer.
don't lie.
A beer. Cheers.
Cheers.
Love you, dude.
Love you. I'm not gonna. He had less than me. I'm not gonna.